latest exclusive addition to the CM plugin stable, WaveShaper CM, combines flexible non-linear distortion and bit reduction effects with a handy oscilloscope. In this video we're going to take you through the basics of how the plugin works and what you can do with it. Once you've installed WaveShaper CM, launch your DAW and import the audio file waveshapercmdrums.wav into an empty project. It's in the CM tutorial files folder. Once you've imported the file, insert WaveShaper CM across the track. When the WaveShaper CM interface opens, click the New icon to load the default init preset. This passes audio through unaffected. Hit play to see the drum loop's waveform scroll across the display. This currently shows both the input and the output waveforms, but there's no difference between them as yet. Beneath the oscilloscope display is the mode menu, with its 5 options: beat, beat retrig, fixed, fixed retrig, and note. Beat mode syncs the speed of the oscilloscope's refresh rate to your project tempo, while fixed mode sets it to a fixed rate that you control. Retrig modes retrigger the display whenever a new note is played and only work when the plugin is receiving notes. The second menu sets the oscilloscope's refresh rate, or in other words, the amount of time represented by the width of the display window. Set it to 1/8 and the display will refresh every 8th note. Set it to 8 bars and it'll display 8 bars worth of waveform before wrapping back around. We'll set it to 1/8 for now. Clicking the loop button turns the oscilloscope looping off. In this mode, the display doesn't wrap around but scrolls continuously as the sound plays through the plugin. This can be used in conjunction with the button above it to freeze the display at any given point. This is useful at faster speeds to get a zoomed-in snapshot of the waveform. The other controls further up the side of the display are for vertical zooming, click and drag to adjust, and for showing and hiding the left and right channels, and the input and output waveforms on the display. The input waveform is shown in grey, with the brown output waveform superimposed on top. Now it's time to apply some wave shaping. For this we'll turn oscilloscope looping back on, unfreeze the display, and set the refresh rate back to 1 bar so that we can see what's happening to our drum loop as a whole. Then we click in the centre of the graph's curve to produce our first soft control point. Drag the new point up towards the top left corner of the display. As it's a soft point, it produces a gentler curve for a more subtle distortion. But you can already hear the impact that the effect has on the sound. It's much louder and crunchier, and the brown output waveform has grown much bigger. Right-click the new point to turn it into a hard point. This produces a tighter, harder sound. Over on the right, use the input and output show and hide buttons to compare the original grey waveform with the brown processed output signal. Right-click again on any hard point to delete it. You can insert as many control points as you like until you achieve the desired results. But if things get too messy, simply click on a curve on the left-hand side of the graph to reset the curve to one of the 5 preset shapes. The most extreme distortion effects are produced by placing the point near the left-hand side of the graph, close to the vertical axis, for a really steep slope as the in parameter approaches 0. Use the amplitude shift buttons to the left of the graph to increase or decrease the loudness of your shape if needed. Click the Snap to Grid button in the top left corner of the graph and your points will snap to the nearest grid positions on the graph. The grid coordinates appear in the window to the right. You can temporarily disable this mode by holding down the Shift key while moving a point. Once you have the shape of the curve roughly right, you can fine-tune the depth of the effect with the input and output gain and mix controls. Our original audio file is pretty loud, so we'll tone things down a bit by setting the input to -6 dB and the mix control to about 70%. Now that our drums are nice and crisp, let's try the plugin on something else. Import the file WaveShaper CM bass.wav onto an empty track and insert a second WaveShaper CM across it. As it stands, it's just a clean, fairly ordinary sampled bass guitar part, but not for long. Click on the curve to produce 3 points. One hard point in the centre, at in 0.5 out 0.5, another hard point at in 0.09 out 0.75, and a soft point at in 0.35 out 0.05. This should bend the lower half of the curve to produce the shape shown, resulting in a grimy, fuzzed up bass sound. Finally, an extreme example of how WaveShaper CM can completely transform the character of a sound. Import the file WaveShaper CM Rhodes.wav onto a new track and insert a third instance of WaveShaper CM. Reduce the output gain to -6 dB first. And then use the flatline preset button on the left to set a completely horizontal curve. This effectively flattens the waveform, producing an instantly fuzzy, distorted, bit-reduced tone. Our piano part is immediately transformed into growling, distorted power chords. Zoom in on the waveform in the oscilloscope, and the difference between the input and output signals will be clearly visible.